YouTube, my name is Mesa Sean, and welcome back to another Division 2 video. Alright folks, we've got a lot of stuff to cover in this video. We're going to recap some of the things from the latest state of the game, as well as I'm going to give you some tips and tricks leading into not only the new DLC that's coming out on the 3rd of March, Warlords of New York, but also the whole revamping of the game, namely the loot system, the leveling system, armor, weapons, you name it. I have to be frank, it's been really refreshing to see how many people in my comment section, as well as channel members, have picked up the game and are enjoying it right now. Well, guys, it's going to get a whole lot better come March 3rd when the revamped armor system, when the revamped leveling system comes out, and also, of course, the new expansion, Warlords of New York. There will be no disruption in Destiny 2 content. I'm excited to cover 2 games at the same time and put in the overtime. So if you like this video, hit that like button, subscribe for daily Division 2 and Destiny 2 content, of course. And also, if you'd like to further support this channel, become a channel member. All right, let's get into this video. We're going to focus on 2 major topics for this video, and then at the end, we're going to talk about some preparation and some things that you need to know, or maybe some top things that you need to know leading up to this revamping of the game on March 3rd, and also the Warlords of New York expansion. Let's kick things off with talking about recalibration. Now, hopefully you checked out my ultimate starter guide for the Division 2, and maybe that's why you're here, because I kind of go over everything about the game just in general and kind of like a basic, starter guide. That's what it is. But I do touch on recalibration, and recalibration right now, it's okay, but they're just taking it to the next level with the revamping of the game. They're going to make things, I would say in a nutshell, streamlined, and you're going to be chasing for things. You're going to be chasing for talents, perks, attributes, and they're going to make it so easy for you to determine if you got a good piece of loot or if it's just trash and you should just delete it. As of right now, with recalibration, it is kind of a mess, right? You need to keep a whole bunch of stuff either on your persons or in your stash, and then if you have a particular piece of gear that you like, whether it's an attribute, a particular stat, whether it's for armor or for weapon damage or skill power, etc., or even talents, well, you have to hold on to that stuff and then find something else that has a better role in it, and then recalibrate that piece of armor and apply it. It's just a nightmare. Well, they're changing it so that you're going to have a library. We're going to become librarians, folks. That's a dumb joke. But the game is going to tell you, actually, where you might be deficient. So you might pull up a piece of gear, and it'll actually tell you in the library, well, you've got some room for improvement here, and here's what you can do to recalibrate it. Let's take a look at how this is going to work. And they did say on this stream here, where I'm showing you these images from, this is a work in progress, to kind of ignore some of the numbers here that they might be just placeholders. So you go to your recalibration, and you can see you have all the different things that you would like to recalibrate, whether it's weapon types or pieces of gear. Then if you tab over to the right, it brings us to the Recalibration Library. And under each category of weapon and also armor, well, we see attributes and we see talents. Now, what it appears to be is that these are what you've learned so far, meaning that you've extracted it from other pieces of gear. And we'll get into an example of a particular mask, and we'll see how they do it. Again, keep in mind that these numbers are probably placeholders. But let's just take the marksman rifle for an example here. So it says 3 out of 6. Now, I'm reading that as, well, we've learned, quote-unquote, learned 3 different attributes that we could apply to a marksman rifle. Same thing with the talents. Well, 4 out of 29, if there's 29 available, it means that we have 4 different talents we can apply to a marksman rifle. So let's use a mask for an example. And when we pull this up here, we see that we could use some improvement in our armor stat, or that we have a piece of gear that has a better armor stat that we can apply to this, then dismantle it, and then now we have that armor stat permanently that we could use on other pieces of armor. So also you want to take a look at right below skill tier. That's going to be the new system here. So we have weapon damage, then we have armor, then we have different tiers for skills. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later, but just look at the image. It says +1. And it says max of +6. It goes crazy when you reach +6 because you could do something called overcharge, which I'll talk about a little bit later. You also have critical hit chance, headshot damage, health. Those are other things. But right now, we want to focus on, we do see an improvement available for the armor stat. Now, that stat was about 3,000 and something, but we do see that we have a mask here that has +4,000 armor. So what's going to happen is we're going to dismantle it, break it down. Now we can apply that 4000 stat to any mask that we want to for the future. So we technically have quote unquote learned that stat. Now, it's not like you can just fill out your entire library with 100% god rolls of everything. You still got to go out and get good pieces of gear, but you are going to fill out your library with a number of different talents, attributes, and stats, and then from there, you could really customize how you're going to put your gear together. I'm going to read you some notes here from the developers, and they say the Recalibration Library will display stored talents and attributes by weapon or gear type, letting players quickly find improvements for specific items. The library will also let players know when gear in their inventory has a better attribute than what they have stored. This gives players a chance to extract the new attribute, destroying the original gear in the process, and apply it repeatedly to any future gear of the same type. And they say the developers are still deciding whether to limit the Recalibration Library to a per character basis or make it account wide. They also say finding all of the quote unquote god rolls to max out each gear item will add a new collection metagame aspect to the recalibration. Next up, let's talk about skills. And I want to hear from you guys in the comment section. What are your 2 favorite skills that you guys like to use? Now, for myself, I like to run the turret and I like to run the Chem Launcher, but I run the healing Chem Launcher. Now, you're probably saying the turret, that's not very good. Well, the turret's not very good right now, but when you see what they're doing to skill power, turrets are going to get a whole lot better, I think. And I love the Chem Launcher healer because, I don't know, I just love dropping those things on the ground when I need it. And then if I really need to use an armor kit, I'll use an armor kit. But let me know in the comment section, what skills do you like? So let's take a look at some gloves here. Now, we see skill tier +1. Now, the goal, if you want to run a skill build and have really powerful skills, and wait until you see some of the bonuses you will get as you increase your skill tier, they're pretty epic. But the goal is to get your skill tier up to 6, meaning skill tier 6, so that you will see on the right-hand side, instead of the 2 next to the little battery, you're going to see a 6. So let's look at some examples here. So right now, we're at skill tier 2. That means that we have 2 pieces of gear that have that core attribute that says +1 skill tier. So we could see as we go down the line from tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, well, let's just take damage for this turret. The damage goes from 35% to 70% to 105% to 140%, and unfortunately they did not scroll down any further, but I am going to imagine that the skill tier 6 turret is going to be pretty powerful in terms of damage, as well as health, as well as skill haste, and so forth. They showed an example also of the Chem Launcher 2, and it's the same basic setup. Skill tier 1, 2, 3, everything's going to increase. Like for the Chem Launcher, you have the attributes of ammo, blast radius, duration, and heal. So I use it for healing, so obviously the radius gets bigger each time, the healing gets better. So it would go, let's say from heal, it would go from 33% to 66% to 100% and so forth as you continue up to skill tier 6. They also showed just a little example of the differences between the flame turret in skill tier 1, and then they show you skill tier 2. Now, it may not seem like that much of a difference, but as you increase your skill tier level, well, it's going to fan out a lot more than that. They also mentioned that skill mods will still be available and will work similarly to weapon mods, and they will add a percentage modifier to certain skills. Now, let's talk about overcharge, and in their notes here, they say, using certain exotics or gear set talents, players can temporarily enter an overcharge state, which will ramp up skill stats to super powerful levels. Now, this is not something permanent, but I'm going to show you an example on screen of one of the turrets looking like it's going crazy. Now, he did mention on screen that this is the turret in an overcharge state, but it's not going to stay like that. This is just something that's temporarily, well, it's going to function temporarily like that. And they also said that there's other, like some other gear sets or some other attributes where when you activate the overcharge, some of your allies, their skills can also be overcharged. I know I mentioned at the beginning of the video that I had a number of tips I wanted to go over in this video, but now that I'm looking at my notes here, there's just too much to cover, guys. And I want to make a separate video on probably like the top 10 or probably top 20 at this point, things that you need to know leading into the new expansion, as well as also the changes to the game coming on March 3rd. So if you enjoyed this video, drop me a good old hashtag made it to the end if you did make it to the end. And if you'd like to become a channel member and join the Mesa army over on Discord, and also, like I said before, we have Destiny 2 clans, but now people started up Division 2 clans also on different platforms. So, all right, guys, that's it. Drop a like in this video only if you see fit. Follow me on on Twitter at Mesa Sean. Check out my stream. Usually know it's on YouTube, and that's it. I am out of here like Vladimir.